Alright, welcome back everyone, it is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. Been a while since I did one of these. We've got ourselves a Terran versus Zerg on the map Automaton, and when I say one of these, I mean not an IEM match. So this is just going to be a standard old North American ladder game. What more can you ask for? It should be a pretty crazy one. As spawning in the bottom left-hand side of the map, we've got Storm's RuFF, known for doing a lot of crazy shenanigans, and his opponent, cast a lot of his replays in the past, it's JimRising. So usually the main thing to look for when you've got a game like this is what RuFF's going to be doing, as he's probably going to be the one throwing out some crazy stuff. And it looks like for starters, going to be going for a low ground wall off with his barracks here, supply depot barracks. And then yeah, so that's actually something that I like to see in TvZ. It's interesting. It's not done very often because of the obvious, say, Zerg rushes, things like that. So it sometimes gets overlooked. However, it seems to look pretty good. I've cast RuFF a few times on this channel. It's been a while since I did it, but he does do this every now and then, and I'm a big fan of it, honestly. JimRising has opened up with a spawning pool first, though, so I guess we'll get the answer to see how exactly well is this build going to work out versus something a little bit more aggressive. JimRising didn't catch the exact timing on that spawning pool. However, it's a rather early one. He's just got his hatchery on the way now, and lings are already on the way, so we'll see how this wall is going to work out for RuFF. Got a marine on the way, got his factory starting up, but then there we go. He was lacking one thing to get that wall finished, and there we go. The wall's going to be finished up, and we'll see how this is going to work out for RuFF, as he's making the one marine, gonna run it right on out from the bottom of this wall. Gonna run right into an overlord. If he can pick off this overlord at the start of the game, that would be absolutely huge. JimRising's gonna have to do something with this overlord. There's that high ground spot for it to get to and hide out on. This game's starting up a little bit quicker than they usually do, although RuFF could be in a bit of trouble here. Okay, he runs away with the marina. 6 lings have crossed the map. I imagine JimRising knows how RuFF plays a little bit, although, oh dear, this could be very problematic for RuFF. The lings are going to get on in, so his marine has no choice but to run. His production has been completely shut down. These lings can actually just block this, so RuFF pulling the SCVs off the line. However, the marine needs to be helping out with this. He's not helping out. RuFF busy trying to land these buildings, get a Hellion started, so SCVs are already starting to go down at the beginning of this game, and this is significant losses for RuFF already. 5 SCVs gone down. That's a little bit more than an early pool for Zerg usually gets, so that's hurting. There's no doubt about that, and JimRising's overlord just hanging out over here. Might actually lose that overlord if he's not careful. This marine gonna be shooting away at him. This game, man, it's getting started pretty darn quickly here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see RuFF, say, lift his barracks or something in order to finish off this overlord, as he just doesn't have the high ground vision, but the barracks can provide that. This metal overlord just hanging out here. Is he gonna do it? That's the real question. RuFF, though, starting up a siege tank behind this. This is something that's seen with these early wall offs. I know there's not exactly a gold standard for this. However, the early tank behind these low ground wall offs for Terran does help out a little bit, and it could possibly lead into another push. However, as I say that, RuFF has got up his 3rd command center on the way, and I know we've hardly looked at JimRising's side of the map right now, and that's just because he's doing a pretty standard follow-up to this. That wasn't a big commitment with the 6 lings or anything. It got a nice bit of damage done, and now he's just going to be just following it up with a pretty quick lair. 3rd base on the way, so standard stuff coming out here. Hold on, let's check those timings. Okay, yeah, pretty quick lair there. 4 minutes into this game, we've got RuFF's cut all production here. He's not making anything, as he's just getting up his 3rd command center, getting up those extra gases. He's a very mechy Terran. He's one of those North American guys that really marches to the beat of his own drum. And the Ghost Academy now on the way for RuFF. Wait, I like how casual I say that. A Ghost Academy on the way for RuFF. Okay, so we're going to be seeing maybe like early ghosts or something. I've seen RuFF go for like ghost drops in the past. He does stream a lot. So does JimRising. And so you can catch these guys play it on their streams and such. However, ghosts, you never know what you're going to get with an early Ghost Academy. JimRising's going to be going for a Spire off the back of this quick lair. That's something that's interesting to see. And I don't know how well it's going to work out versus ghosts. However, RuFF already has an engineering bay on the way. Overseer's running on in for JimRising, though. He does have up that lair, so he's actually going to get a good scout off here. Sees the Ghost Academy. I don't know how you're supposed to react to this. However, he has the information he needs. That Changeling gets picked off. The Marine's coming on in here to shoo this Overseer away. So now we're going to be seeing +1 Ghosts and a planetary at the 3rd base for RuFF on the way already. I have no idea what to say. RuFF throws up 2 more barracks behind this. There's no stim started or anything, so it could just be mass ghosts coming out of the Terran player here. Whereas as this game's going on, JimRising with a very nice bit of map vision here. I should point out, Overlords. He doesn't want to be caught off by surprise. He's had very good scouting so far. He's got some lings out on the map, maybe looking for a bit of damage. However, they're not going to be able to harass this 3rd base. RuFF, by the way, is 0 information. He has not gone out on the map at all. He's now sending out 1 Marine to see what he can see. Planetary's going to send these lings away. We'll see if RuFF finds out what he wants. They're just having this Marine parked here. He's kind of preparing for the Mutalisk. He's got 1 missile turret up. He's got another 2 on the way, so might be fine versus this. It's always interesting, the whole basically no anti-air versus Mutalisk conundrum. That Spire's done, by the way. JimRising has yet to produce any mutas, though. Okay, there we go. 11 mutas now on the way. So those flying boys going to be popping on out here. Just waiting for them. Is there going to be a metal Mutalisk skin? That would be really cool. Does JimRising have the metal Mutalisk skin? We'll find out. I don't know if I've ever actually seen that. And there we go. Throws up some Evos of Roachwarren. A lot's been going on this game. It's been I've sort of not been casting as much lately, so we're really getting back on into it here. Okay, there we go. There's the metal Mutalisks. That's so metal. Right? Yeah, they're looking metal. They've got like little things, gas shooting out of them. Okay, that's interesting. So now we've got JimRising with 11 mutas going to be flying over to RuFF's side of the map. RuFF has prepared for this. If you're going to be going for something like this, you got to really be ready for whatever, and he made a good call expecting mutas coming out of JimRising. These mutas are going to come on in. Turret's going to be getting repaired to keep it alive, so one of those mutas going down. As a result, the turret already going to pick off a couple of these mutas, and Snipe's actually going down on the mutas, popping them off. Look at that. These ghosts just annihilated the mutas of JimRising. Okay, that works. RuFF did lose a fair few SCVs. He lost like 10 or so SCVs to that. However, I mean, he killed off 10 mutas, so I'd say that's probably a worthwhile trade for the Terran. JimRising just being like, all right, I guess. We're now seeing drones on the way for JimRising as he's just macroing up. He's not too concerned about an attack, it would seem. RuFF got his tank here, got his ghost here. Gonna send those lings packing. This Overlord's still alive, by the way, and it's healing up. So 157 health. Is it gonna hit 200 before the end of this game? That's always something worth paying attention to. It's like a built-in clock or whatever. Now, JimRising, 16 roaches on the way. Ghosts, I believe they one-shot roaches with their snipe. They don't one-shot queens, but they do one-shot roaches to my knowledge. They definitely one-shot ravagers. So JimRising getting his 1-1 on the way. RuFF just making more and more ghosts. We sometimes see Terrans make a lot of ghosts at the end of the game. It's like, okay, I need something at the very end of the game. However, RuFF is just rushing these ghosts right now. He's kept his economy going. JimRising's dwarfing him in supply. RuFF's throwing up a lot more missile turrets here as well. However, JimRising just making a ton of roaches here. How much health? 145. Snipe does what, 170-ish? 170, I want to say? Let's find out. Snipe. 170, I got it right. Not quite enough to one-shot a queen. However, enough to one-shot these roaches. So RuFF is going to have 12 ghosts out. He's got a couple of tanks. We'll see if he's going to be able to deal with all these roaches. I mean, there's only 19 roaches, so if all the snipes get off, that's half of them dead. We'll see how this is going to work out, though, because the army supply tells one heck of a story right now as RuFF with 12 ghosts to his name versus a Zerg player who's doubling him in supply. Couple roaches going to run on in here, try and pick off this tank. Ghosts are coming on in now. They're going to start blanketing down their snipe. Of course, those snipes get interrupted. However, there's actually cloak here for RuFF. There's no overseer here for JimRising, so this is actually going to allow the ghosts to get off a lot of snipes right now, and they can actually clean up all of these roaches. There we go. That cloak is now useless as there's an overseer, so RuFF will lose some of his ghosts. However, he did snipe off enough of the units to trade out to pick these units off. He lost 3 ghosts. Gonna pick off the overseer and everything else. Swarm hosts rally in, though. This is a concern for RuFF. JimRising got these guys up as his follow-up. Now, Ghosts can snipe off Swarm hosts. However, the concern is dealing with the Locust, as RuFF doesn't really have a lot to make that happen. JimRising not using those Swarm hosts just yet. Maybe he's waiting for more units to go for a big wave or something, and I think that might be his plan. He's just got to try and awkwardly kill RuFF right now. RuFF is hanging in there, though. He's getting up more Ghosts, high-sec auto tracking, because why not? His main defense versus these Locusts will be this Planetary. The Ghosts are good versus the light units, however. Just Ghosts is not something we see every day. 170 supply to 100, we'll see. RuFF's hanging on, though. He's using these Ghosts to kill rocks. They're not the quickest at it, and these Ghosts are going to be in trouble. RuFF's got to retreat right now with these Ghosts. As these Locusts are coming on in, will the Ghosts maybe cloak to deal with this? RuFF's scanning. Units are running away. I mean, Roaches are coming on in here. There's no cloak going down for RuFF. The Locust and the Planetary do deal with this. However, Roaches are now running on in. These Ghosts could maybe get some snipes off. RuFF not reacting after this, though. A couple of Roaches are running to the wrong side of town. They're all going to be getting sniped off. JimRising, though, just has such an economy behind this, though. This is interesting. Very interesting, though. We've now got 14 Ghosts. This is not normal, guys. If you guys are new to Starcraft 2, this is not something that you see every day. RuFF just sitting back, making a lot of Ghosts. He's now actually going to be able to snipe off a ton of these Swarm hosts. That's a nice find. However, it was a trap. The Ghosts are getting caught. RuFF going to lose a lot of his Ghosts. He can evacuate or get 7 of them out. However, he had a lot more than 7 before that. So JimRising with the trap, allowing or catching those Ghosts with the Roaches coming up behind, and this is why we don't see mass Ghosts a lot of the time. They're just a little bit too flimsy. RuFF, though, keeping them alive. He's making more and more of them. He's at 75 workers. Gonna want to secure another base pretty soon. He's settled for the gold base, so he's actually got that for now. Ghosts got to be careful, though. It's just the Planetaries that actually prevents these Roaches from committing onto RuFF. If he has the money, I wouldn't mind seeing like another Planetary here or something if you're going to play this defensive style so JimRising can't bounce around. Maybe some more command centers going up because he will eventually want another base. RuFF's still alive, though. There's now JimRising. He's throwing the entire arsenal at Rust. First it was a couple of Lings, and then some Roaches, and then some Swarm Host. And now there's a lot of Hydras that have grouped up with this. Is it enough to kill RuFF? RuFF's going up in supply. I mean, it's not as dire, the difference. RuFF also has a nuke in his back pocket. He's not just excited to see JimRising. So snipes are getting queued up on these Hydras. However, I mean, the Ghosts, they take time for the snipes. A command center that was being started by RuFF going to be killed off. That's an expensive loss there. And he has to clean this up. And if JimRising just avoids the Planetaries, this is where it becomes concerning for RuFF. Although JimRising is not avoiding the Planetaries, SCV is going to be repairing them, keeping them alive. And now the Ghosts, they have this little place to retreat to so they can maybe get some snipes off. RuFF is transitioning, making a lot of tanks in order to deal with this, getting some set up on the high ground. Lots of snipes going down. He's hanging on for now. JimRising's having a tough time dealing with this mass Ghost style, and it's just working for RuFF. Okay, snipe, 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 pew, pew, pew. It's working. RuFF cleans out the army of JimRising, and he's staying alive. This game is ridiculous. JimRising is doing this right Zerg thing in which you just take a ton of bases. He's also got lots of vision out just so he knows what he's playing with. However, he's having a tough time. He's like, you've got Ghosts, I should just be able to kill you. However, he hasn't been able to make it happen. He's now investing in a couple of Infestors, and this is really what Zerg wants. They shut down Ghosts hard if the Ghosts are clumped up. He's also getting up the Greater Spire, and eventually that should win out versus the Mass Ghost of the Terran. The Broodlord Infestor, generally a more preferred composition. So now we're seeing what's RuFF gonna do. I mean, he's got tanks to defend versus these Hydras. He's losing a ton of SCVs, though, as these Hydras park behind this gold base. That's one of the risks of taking this location, so RuFF just lost a ton of workers. However, with all of these tanks, he should be fine. So JimRising will need Broodlords to shut this down. Either that or he's going to take a very painful engagement right now. He might want to go for it, eating some more tank shots, more and more tank shots going off. There we go. He can't deny the mining here any longer. JimRising trying to commit onto this tank will pick it off. Loses a lot of Hydras, though. The few tanks remaining, the Planetaries, even Fungal going down on the SCVs. That's hurting. However, RuFF, I mean, he lost some SCVs, but JimRising's traded out a lot of resources. We're seeing the efficiency from RuFF here, guys. It's 21,000 resources lost to 10,000, almost 11,000. So about a 10,000 difference there. RuFF's securing another base, and JimRising, like, this is a tough situation just because it's something you never deal with as a Zerg player. This is not how Terran usually plays the game, so JimRising's like, all right, I guess I'll try and kill you, and he's tried that a few times. However, RuFF is hanging on this game. Hydras are now on the way here for JimRising. Okay, now, let's see. Like, JimRising making more Hydras, getting up a Spore Crawler. Yeah, this is kinda crazy here. Corruptors are now on the way. Thor's on the way for RuFF. I mean, he's starting to mine out of his bases. He's secured this location, though, properly, taking it from both sides here. And tanks galore. Eventually, he's going to want to secure another base, and this is the next one. The next sort of full base. Another planetary going up. I'm loving the planetaries from RuFF. Does he have building armor, though? He does have that building armor, so those planetaries, they're tough. He's holding. RuFF is turtling. And he was when turtling was more viable for Terran, he was definitely someone that did it a lot. And he's bringing it out versus JimRising now, getting some Thors. However, this is where it becomes a bit concerning for the Terran, the Broodlord conundrum. Broodlords are very, very good for the Zerg player. They can really start, they're really that, I don't really have a word for it, but they're what the Zerg player needs in order to be able to really shut down, to really, yeah, they're that sort of, they're the paper to the rock in rock, paper, scissors, basically. In that sort of sense of Starcraft 2. JimRising getting up static defense at his bases, I love it. When Terran sort of plays these scrappy styles, a big part of it is harassment. And JimRising, he's like, all right, RuFF could maybe bring that out, even though he hasn't. Oh my god, RuFF, he hasn't gone outside of his base. It's just no scouting. JimRising stepping forward with some units. The planetary and ghosts, though, more than enough to send those Hydras away. Small squads of units will get punished if they keep going around here. Oh my god, that Ling. They actually just burst into flames when shot by a planetary. I don't know if it's the skins or... Here we see JimRising stepping forward. Tanks and a planetary, though, should be enough to punish these Hydras. Looks like, yeah, ghosts coming on in, too. So he traded out a fair few Hydras for a tank. RuFF being more and more efficient still. Eventually, Zerg usually becomes more efficient than the Terran in the late game, and the resources lost closes up. However, RuFF has had himself a nice lead this game. We're now 17 minutes in. RuFF has not moved out. This is just bananas. Adrenal glands, JimRising getting up Carapace for his fire weapons, melee, getting up all the upgrades. That's what Zerg generally does. He's even taking this base down here, and you just want to take all the bases as the Zerg. So just throw up hatcheries left and right. Let's see it happen, JimRising. RuFF isn't concerned about what's going on outside, so just take all the bases. This is the furthest RuFF has ever been away from home.
Mineral field depleted.
Okie dokie, this is where it becomes a bit concerning for the Terran, though. Broodlords are rolling up for JimRising. The tanks shoot the Broodlings, that hurts the planetaries. SCV's not repairing. There we go. Now it's starting to be repaired, and this is helping out, although we're going to need to see more repair going for RuFF, otherwise this planetary will fall. Where's that repair for RuFF? He's actually just busy coming in with his Thors. Looks like he got some snipes off, got all the ghosts and Thors here. Might be enough to deal with these Broodlords. We're going to need to see some EMP, though, because there's lots of fungal here. However, the Thors not bad versus Broodlords on the current patch. Snipes going down. Is RuFF going to be able to pick this off? JimRising came in with a fair few Broodlords, but not too many. Lots of EMP going down on the Infestors. Not too many spells left. RuFF is going to be able to hold and send JimRising packing. RuFF manages to hold on. He's staying alive. He just shut down JimRising so hard. I don't understand. Like, JimRising, I guess, didn't have the perfect composition there. Maybe could have had a bit more supply in Broodlords or something, but RuFF with good EMPs pushed the Infestors back, making the late game work for Terran right now. Just turtling. It's been a while since we've seen Terran just turtle like this, guys. RuFF has no intent to move out on the map. Hydras are stepping forward. There's more Broodlords for JimRising. But RuFF's staying alive. And part of the reason why I think this isn't working for JimRising is the fact that he's got 100 drones. He's maxed out 100 army supplies, all that he can make. And when it comes down to this late game versus late game, you want as many units as possible. Hydras and Broodlords are stepping forward now, though, picking off some Thors. Seems to be some nice trades going down there. Ghosts are coming on in, though, getting a lot of snipes off. The Hydras are now gone. However, the Broodlords are still standing. We're going to need to see some good spells going down for RuFF when there's a lot of infestors waiting to toss out that fungal and stuff. Snipes are going down, though, and the Broodlord Count is thinning out this missile turret. Even doing his part here, almost picks off a Broodlord, and there's still plenty of Ghosts right now. 1 or 2 more Thors coming in here for RuFF. Seems to be hanging on right now. Thors tossing out, or just snipes, Thors pushing everything back. RuFF's holding on, guys. He's holding on. Thors, are they going to pick off the Broodlords? That's really what needs to go down. There's lots of fungal going down, but there's nothing really to capitalize on top of that. JimRising has lost everything. More snipes going down, more units being picked off, and RuFF is staying alive still. 20,000 resources lost more for JimRising. RuFF is eventually going to need to secure another bases. He's spent a lot of money, and his, like, what's the army value? Can we take a look at this? RuFF's army value is just so high here. And he's not even maxed out. He's thrown up another command center, maybe for more planetaries. He'll eventually want to secure these bases, say down to the right or somewhere else, as yeah, he's eventually going to want to do something like that. JimRising is mining more than his share on the map, and that's where Zerg can come back. Whereas and that definitely is something that's noteworthy here. RuFF doing a great job just staying back, playing defensive this game. JimRising, Thor's coming on in here now, so RuFF producing more. These Hydras are coming in from the north for JimRising. So these 2 planetaries are doing their best, but I mean, these are upgraded planetaries. They've got the building armor. JimRising's committing on in here. He's coming in from multiple angles right now. However, that's a lot of Hydras he lost just to bruise a planetary, pick off a couple of SCVs. So not the best trades there for JimRising. He will pick off this planetary since there's no SCVs around to repair it. Snipes going down will cost him units, though, on his retreat. And RuFF's just being more and more efficient here. 19 Corruptors now on the way for JimRising, so maybe thinking of really committing to that air style here. However, look at this. The Ghosts are going to be able to push this army back. JimRising split up his army, and Ghosts do well versus just smaller chunks of units. Look at this. The Ghosts not even needing to snipe to trade out with the Hydras. They're not bad in that regard. RuFF's now seeing this base here. Maybe going to want to pick it off because JimRising is mining from both the corner bases, and that means he's mining more than his share. So RuFF probably going to want to do something about that as soon as he can. Now, Thor's rolling on around here. Okay, looks like there's a pause in the middle of this game. Thor's rolling on in, so RuFF gonna be looking to pick off this base. Okay, Hellbat's coming on in. Lots of Ghosts here for RuFF still. That hasn't changed this game now. Broodlord's coming on in. This is a ton of Broodlords for JimRising, and I mean, that's generally what you want. Some static defense might go well for JimRising. There is an art to dealing with the Terran late game composition. However, I am a firm believer if JimRising has the right composition, he can do it. However, he's been very aggressive this game, and this might cost him. He's going for it once again. There's 8 Thors here, 18 Ghosts. It's gonna come down to the spells. The Ghosts are staying back to avoid those infestors. The Thors doing well versus the Broodlords, though. The Broodlords are all hurt so hard. The Thors are actually just ripping through them. JimRising, not enough on the ground. The Broodlords are falling. The Thors have been trading out with them pretty well. And once the Broodlords are gone, that's really... Zerg needs Broodlords, guys. It's just not happening. So RuFF, able to force JimRising back once again, just sends him packing a couple of Hellbats in tow right now, just chasing down these infestors. Oh my god. Are they going to make it happen? They're going for it. Okay, they get distracted by a spine crawler. Those Hellbat skins, by the way, they look sick. Look at that. RuFF gonna eventually want to secure up another base here. He's slowly inching out. There we go. Got a command center flying on over, and he's just doing it, guys. Like, this is such an insane game from the Terran. JimRising stepping forward, but he's just been a little bit reckless dealing with this. He's thrown away a lot of resources. His bases are gonna be mining out soon, so it's a good thing he's mined more than his share this game. He's now securing this base up here, which is by rights RuFFs in a sense. So it's nice JimRising taking this base because Lord knows he needs it. Resources lost wise, 60,000 to 25,000. RuFF is just being so efficient. JimRising, he's being a little bit reckless here. He's made a ton of Hydras, I guess, since he figures he needs something. The Broodlords haven't worked though. Maybe, and Vipers wouldn't really help him out. Maybe, although Blinding Cloud can help out. And yeah, maybe JimRising, say, threw up a lot of spores. RuFF's been turtling. Maybe it's his turn too. Say if he threw up a lot of spores, spines, got some Vipers, Broodlords, and sat back, you can trade out, getting some high value abducts on units like Thor's, as long as you control right. JimRising coming on in once again for an attack though. He's crashing against this planetary once more, but it's just not happening. He's just not sure how to deal with this style. He wants to get value, but think about it. He lost a couple of Hydras there, and he picked nothing off, and that's the reason why RuFF is almost 40,000 resources ahead. JimRising, oh my god, he's making more Broodlords, and I think Broodlords definitely are the way to deal with it for Zerg. However, just his armies haven't been quite what he needs in order to make this happen. Maybe it's because he had a few too many drones, pardon me. But lots of spine crawlers getting on up here for JimRising. Spores, he's securing this base. He needs these extra resources. There's no doubt about it. However, even that might not be enough. How many resources are on a base? There's what? It's like... Okay, there's like 4 900s, and then there's... Okay, this is bad. We're doing math. That's 3,600, 1,500 times 4, 6,000. That's like, what, 9,600, and then the 3,000 gas, or 2,250 gas. I don't know, guys. RuFF has basically had like 2 extra bases worth just from his efficiency. That's the point I'm making here. The math skills might not be here, but I'm still trying to get the point across right now. Vipers on the way for JimRising, so deciding he wants some of those. So maybe he will play this more passive style. That can work out versus Zerg. However, even if JimRising starts playing efficient, even say more efficient than Zerg, he's got RuFF. He's got a long way to come back. RuFF secured this extra base here, and he's been very, very cost efficient. Let's take a look at the army value here. I mean, JimRising's army is not bad compared to that of RuFF. It's behind a little bit in the cost since he's just got a few more workers. But look at this RuFF. He's just getting more planetaries. He seems to be very comfortable with this composition. JimRising taking this base is very, very nice for him, as he's almost mined out his equivalent of this base. So this is what he needs to do. And okay, I like this from JimRising. He did the spore crawler trick in which you build a lot of spores and then cancel them in order to get slightly higher than average supply. So JimRising, he had a bit more until he made those extra spores, but he does want these spores. So maybe deciding, okay, it's time to turtle RuFF. I've tried attacking into you umpteenth times. Your turn. I'm gonna sit back a little bit. Here goes RuFF, getting some nice Hellion counter harassment. He knows that JimRising's mining at his base, and he's not having that, so he's gonna be doing a good job shutting that down, frying up a ton of these drones. The spores and spines for JimRising, not quite in the right position, repositioning a few there. However, nice move by RuFF, at least delaying JimRising's mining. That being said, though, look at the resources still. JimRising with a massive lead despite throwing away a ton of resources. It just goes to show how insane his economy has been this game. He's just mining from all the bases. Literally, basically, everything's been divvied up at this point. JimRising's been mining a lot longer than RuFF. There we go. More creep, more spines at the front. Tons of queens for JimRising. This is how Zerg can play it. JimRising's been very aggressive, but he's realizing, okay, that's not working out. You come to me. We'll play this late game. Let's go, toe-to-toe. Now, +3 on the way for RuFF, so he's getting upgrades for his ghosts. He's got his mech upgrades pretty well. This is where it becomes a little bit concerning. This situation is arguably good for Zerg. I'm not gonna sort of write RuFF off though, as he's got himself such a lead here. JimRising though is playing this passive style. Look at this. He's now trying to bait RuFF into a bad fight. RuFF doesn't seem to care though. He's stepping forward with his army a little bit reckless here, getting up 2 planetaries as he definitely wants to secure these bases, dropping the mule hammer to keep his economy going, even that up, and resources lost wise, guys. This is like a 40,000 gap still, just about. JimRising stepping forward, though. He's doing this sort of slow bullying versus RuFF, and this is where it's tough because this forces the Terran to attack. RuFF's composition has been working defending JimRising's attack. Going offensive, though, this is where it becomes a bit concerning. We're now going to be seeing a big fight, though. Tons of snipes going down for RuFF, catches a Broodlord or two. Ghosts are cloaked, Thors are stepping forward. This could be the big fight. Snipes are going down on the army. JimRising's army might not be up to it, though. The Broodlords, they're not quite in position. Yeah, just a couple of Broodlords are fighting versus the Thors, and the Thors are just annihilating it for JimRising. He's tied up on this planetary. EMP's going down. The Queens aren't going to be enough. JimRising just calls it. He taps out versus RuFF. He's had enough. JimRising with a pretty big bank still, but I guess he just knows. I mean, players generally have an idea of how the game's been going and resources-wise. RuFF just picks off the army, and JimRising was like, right, that's it. I can't do anything versus this. He's pretty much mined out of most of his gas geysers, so he's like, all right, that's it. I'm done. You're securing extra bases. You've probably got a good bank, and he taps out. And just from the way that game went from the start, very well played by RuFF. That was great to see. And guys, let's take a look. RuFF never crossed the halfway point. He never crossed the halfway point, yet he managed to take the game. Even going with some nice Liberator harassment. I didn't catch that. So shutting down JimRising's economy. JimRising just, he was like, no, this is too much. Anyway, if you guys did enjoy this cast, make sure to hit that like button, as I'm always putting out more StarCraft 2 content. Got that backwards. Subscribe, as I'm always putting out more content. If you like this video and you stayed to the end, hit that like button, as it shows you guys enjoy these casts. Otherwise, I shall see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.